We're back. Welcome back, everybody, for more tomfoolery. Hope you're well. Get some music going here. Chet Baker. Ladies and gentlemen, Chet Baker. You've been so forgetful. A stopping joy, forgetfulness. It's a little thin. Hadn't thankful. Been forgetful. And down the case. Others live. Never any romance. So there's a story that goes with this music. When I lived in Brooklyn, I can't really tell all the details of the story, but I had a brief affair with an older woman, and I remember when she came over to my apartment, I put this CD on, and she loved it. She loved it, and I ended up lending it to her and never seeing it again. But she was like, every time I hear Chet Baker, I think of you. I imagine you singing it, etc. It's kind of nice. There was a moon out in space. Drifted over. I find this kind of music very charming. You know, it's obviously from another time. And yes, I do have nostalgia for the time and that, We called him again. You sort of have to be kind of like a hopeless romantic to like this music, I would say. Yeah, that was a brief but passionate affair. She was conservative though, in the sense that she's like, I want to, you know, sort of no sex before marriage kind of thing. So it was more, I don't know, lots of romance and other little fun things. But sometimes, like, the tension of that kind of relationship can be more intense than anything because you just have this pent up desire. Remember, she asked me to read this certain book, and the book was a romance novel, not a long one. And she was just really sincere about, oh my God, you got to read this book, and kind of said something about like how it represents how she feels and something, so that kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'll. And I read it almost in an afternoon, pretty much. I remember going to the park with the book and just driving through it, just piling right through it, and thinking while I'm reading it, like, this is her way of saying that she likes me. It's like her kind of advance, if you will. And so, like, reading the book as the afternoon passes, and kind of putting that together was sort of a sort of romantic experience in and of itself. Kind of coming to figure out, oh my God, like, she likes me, and what's the next move, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna have to leave it to your imagination. So here we've got a character called Keck. If you guys, I would assume you guys know who Keck is. So we are now advertising, posting videos on Twitter X. We've got a lot of little video commercials. Some are kind of like snippets from like one of the main. We have like two main videos that are like a couple minutes long, maybe 2-3 minutes long, and then so there's a couple clips from those, and then our tech guy who does CGI animation, he has figured out how to animate my drawings. So they're literally my drawings, but they move in a fluid animated way. And it's like, for me as an artist to watch that, oh man, it's just, obviously art is still, right? It doesn't move, right? It's not animation, right? So to see my actual line drawings moving, I guess it probably is hard for a non-artist to really get it per se, right? But it's just mind-blowing. There's something super cool about it. And the software is in some ways smart enough to figure out what the characters look like from different angles, and can move it around in these certain ways, and it's pretty phenomenal, pretty impressive. So that's a really neat new feature. And I tagged a bunch of people in the Comicsgate world. A couple artists, a couple reviewers to look at the videos and start getting familiar with who we are, what we do. So that ought to be, just part of the marketing, essentially. So that's cool.
time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loved. I only know what I know. The passing years will show. You kept my life so young, so new. And time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving you. Long ago, my heart and mind got together.
If you guys want me to put some different music on, I can do that.
The wonderful girl
I
for
just like this old jazz.
oh,
I mean, I
what
might not like it in the
can
next
I say?
minute, but especially this song.
You're the idol of my heart in your eyes.
Welcome to the chat. Okay. Oh, there's a beast right there. Hello to the 3 people watching. It'd be so nice to chat with you. That's part of why I do these live shows, so that I have people to talk to. Oops. It didn't work properly. All right, let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. I think the music's a little too mellow. I think it's gonna be time to put something nicer on. Well, not nicer, but more energetic. What do you guys say? I'm gonna put you to sleep with this music. Don't put me to sleep. Bloody hell. What kind of music do you guys want to hear? Drop a suggestion in the chat there. All right, little Zeppy. Mr. Kolevrot is here, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing, buddy? It's been a very quiet stream. Like, I've had people coming and going, but nobody wants to talk. I don't know why. They don't want their data captured by Palantir or something. I can't figure it out. I assume there's just general, I don't know, just people who maybe stumble across the channel. I know that there's like a good bit of kind of comics people out there that, like watching art streams. Maybe they want to learn how to draw. And they're not necessarily from America, like I don't know why, but I always seem to get a lot of people from like India and shit like that. I don't know why. Anyway, we're moving right along here. I'm doing well, and I and some buddies are predicting that we'll have another Francisco Franco in America and another Mustache Man in Europe. I believe I'm feeling it too, bro. I'm feeling it, man. I don't know what it is, but like I've got a very, very, very good sense of these things. I've been able to predict a lot. My militiaman has a lot of things in its story elements that at the time that I wrote them, I just felt like this is coming. This is gonna be real in the future, and that was true. And the same for my very first dissident right comic book, which was American Zarathustra. That was where I first noticed it. It was like, whoa, holy shit! Like I predicted all these things and they came true, and then I started wondering, whoa, we're kind of onto something here. But it's Europe is on fire. Ireland now has a thing called the Irish Citizens Army, and that's pretty much just exactly what you think it would be. The numbers are huge. People are getting, I wonder what, there should be like a code word that we can use. Starts with a V. Well, the color violet, it's purple. It's they're getting very violet. They're getting very purple. And especially in Ireland, UK is starting to have some purple, and it's demonstrating that like they've reached their breaking point and they're not taking it anymore. And so this is what's happening. It's the violet revolution. Yep, my more plausible ideas are more of a long-term thing, like really long-term. Yes, I see that. What I have noticed is that like things get better and worse at the same time. That in some way they create each other. There's a type of a pendulum effect. And we've been under so much control for so long and so badly that the pendulum effect is going to be extraordinary. And that's where Franco and Uncle A are going to be manifesting again because of like how profoundly bad things have been. You know what I'm saying? So this is sort of a cosmic reality. I know that some people will laugh at me saying that, but that doesn't matter. It's a pendulum, and it's just a part of nature. And you can kind of see it, you can kind of feel it. You really have to have, you got to be into political analysis to actually see these things. I think this is not a superpower. This is something anybody with very strong sense of discernment can have or find or do or see or whatever you want to call it. But it's there. It's fucking there, you know. There are certain dangers this time around that, well, there's many dangers this time around that didn't exist 100 years ago or more, and that's specifically AI. AI is going to control all human systems to the point where it's going to change the course of human evolution. And that's something that has to be addressed. Our people need to have our own kind of AI or our own control over AI, whatever those things might be. The fact that essentially, I don't know if is it Israel or who somebody just recently, one of the who's recently set up ChatGPT so that it cannot read Hebrew. Well, golly gee, why Hebrew of all languages? Well, golly gee, what are they trying to hide there? Why can't we do analysis of texts in Hebrew? What is being hidden from the public? Golly gee. So anyway, there's stuff like that, but there's a lot more to it. Where Jesus gets incorporated into the pantheon. Oh, I gotta go back and read some stuff here. There's more going on. Hold on. Let me read. And you can look at Hotep in the meantime. My more plausible ideas of though it's weird, I have an idea in my stories that there's a religion that's a mixture of Christianity and European paganism. That would maybe be cool. Think of the Nordic Christ idea thought up by some back in Germany. I'm not really familiar with that idea. Maybe you could explain that, where Jesus gets incorporated into the pantheons. So I'm always doing research on these kind of matters. According to my research, my conclusion on Jesus is that I'm not 100% sure. Well, I'll just put it this way: he was a kind of a mystic for sure. He was a I would call him a Buddha. That he had a message of how to essentially escape the reincarnation cycles on Earth. He had to encode his language in, blah, 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 like whatever, allegories and this and that and the other thing. And that was to protect him in his time, presumably. But then perhaps gave his real teachings to his disciples privately. The Book of Thomas, I think, is one of the most important texts for this kind of study. I don't feel like I have a dog in that fight anymore. Like, I'm kind of checked out. I'm not like anti-Jesus or anything. I'm so like, well, why can't we have our own ethnic gods? That's kind of how I feel. But on the other hand, I'm also very much into like Hermeticism, Gnosticism. So I'm kind of more in the thinking of what are the laws of the universe and how do we use them, and that's just a whole new ball of wax. So it's not about who told you of the, who kind of taught you the laws of the universe. It's following the laws of the universe. So, for example, in Buddhism, they have an expression. They say, if you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. And that's like a really shocking statement to most people. Like, kill the Buddha? Why are you saying that? And because it's the idea that you're not meant to worship and follow and deify Buddhas, but rather to follow the teaching and become a Buddha. And so it's a kind of a radical way of saying that. There's even a book called "If You Meet the Buddha on the Road, Kill Him." And that's what's become of Jesus, is that he's become this deified character. I feel like Paul. When I say Paul and you're Christian, you should know who the fuck I'm talking about. He invented Christianity, as far as I can tell. I think there's things that are clearly taken from Mithraism. It's been proven and shown, in different cases, how parts of the Bible were just sort of rehashed from like ancient Egypt and this and that, and that's kind of a very Jewish thing. I'm still in a place where I think that Christianity is a Jewish psyop. I don't think Jesus is a Jewish psyop. I think what they did to his teachings is, and how they turned it into what we know today. But at the same time, I know next to nothing about like pagan gods, and to me that is more about archetypes. That's more about mythological archetypes, and I don't know what kind of cosmology is there that, what's the practice? Like, what is the spirituality of Odinism? What are you to do, with existence, And I have a friend who is a very, serious practitioner of heathenism, paganism, Odinism, whatever you call it. And he does give me answers. He does sort of speak to those things. And it's quite different from anything I've ever studied in terms of like, it's not this coddling, saviorism where, if you just believe, then everything will be okay. It's not that at all. And it's more like embrace suffering and run into the battle screaming and, die for a cause and all for the glory and, your, glory and immortality and Valhalla and the warrior code. And, this is a totally different message from Christianity, It's clearly more manly, in its own way. And I'm not taking away, whatever good there is, not like dismissing, the positive teachings of Christianity or anything like that. But speaking for myself, I just have conflicts. I'm conflicted about a variety of these things. It hurts because I have like really, really, really close Christian friends that are just in agony watching me like this. Like it really, really hurts them to see me like this. And I can't lie. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? I can't like be fake about such topics. But and I try to be open-minded. Anyway, let's read what you got here. Jesus, if paganism were to go through a revival and Christianity falls, paganism would incorporate elements of Christianity in a more direct way, and the Nordic Christ idea from Germany is an example of that. Wow, so is there literally like a German Nordic Christ figure of some kind? Does such a person exist? That's interesting. So I'll give you, this is a really, really, really important thing I need to share on this topic. So, belief systems. What is a belief system? Okay, so I've finally come up with a kind of analogy for this, that a belief system is like a map. And on that, let's say it's a map of your hometown, your city, your village, wherever you live. And on that map, you can get from anywhere to anywhere inside your town. And so, as such, it's a self referential system, you see? And so, people, this is like bad logic, this is false logic. They'll say, like, see, because it says the same thing in chapter 10, 20, 30, 40, that it's referencing it's itself, then that means it's true, you know. And, you know, and then that becomes part of this belief system. So what it is, though, is that all the exits to your town on the map are cut off. There's no way to get out of town. And there's millions and trillions of other towns, you know. And so it's a type of reality. It manufactures a perspective of reality. It's a kind of a bubble, in a sense, is a good way to put it. Let's read your comment. There was a German Christ figure, but it never gained traction in Germany during the 1940s because they thought it was too outlandish, and it makes sense. It was very confused. I was very confused when I first heard about it. Well, is this literally a character in Germanic paganism? Or is this some kind of concoction? You know what I'm saying? I don't think that... I shouldn't say that. I believe that there is no intermediary between man and God. I do believe that there are teachers that have found the way and have mastered these cosmic laws, and that they came to teach us. And, you know, it appears that Jesus is one. However, it's so convoluted, and, you know, with history, the fact that it's associated with the Jews in any way, to me, just automatically makes it suspicious. I don't know. I got a lot of doubts. I have a lot of doubts. That you know, that doesn't mean that there's not good morality in there. You know, there's like, for example, E. Michael Jones says things like, if it weren't for Christianity, Europeans would still be chasing pigs around in the woods. You know, he says shit like that, and to me, that's like deeply offensive, because I feel like the cathedrals and the arts of Christianity and so forth are, they're European. They're not Christian. You see what I'm saying? It's not about, you know. So, like, had paganism remained, you know, and wasn't like destroyed by the sword of Christians, I think that over time that paganism would have evolved, and they would have done marvelous things, you know, like in terms of the arts and such, and architecture and all the various things. Because we're white, that's who we are. Like, we invent things, we evolve, we grow. That's my theory. That's how that's essentially, I feel like that's a solid thing to say. I don't think it's problematic in any way. Let's see. Oh, you said it was this Germanic Jesus was a concoction. Yeah, that's not gonna fly. You know, that's not gonna fly. Oh boy. So let me sort of. I'm not contradicting myself per se. What I'm doing, though, is I'm talking about spiritual technology, and how do I put this? Like, I only know this because I practiced like Tibetan Buddhism and Chinese Buddhism for many years, and I've personally experienced a variety of of these things. What I'm getting at is that I don't know what to call this exactly, but there's a type of um spiritual technology where you do essentially you become dedicated to a Buddha, a Bodhisattva. I have my dedication to Amitabha, Amitofo in Chinese, Amita Butsu in Japanese, and Amitabha was a disciple of the Buddha who promised not to enter full nirvana, parinirvana, until all sentient beings are enlightened and saved from the cycle of reincarnation. And for starters, nirvana, by this definition, would be union with God, total absolute union with God, to the point where you never return to suffering. You just simply become one with God. Now, even in the Christian heaven, you don't do that. The highest state is to go and just bask in the presence of God. And that's like you can't it's not the egocentric become God. That's not what that means. Anyway, this stuff gets pretty complicated. Let me try to back up a bit. Oof. Drawing and juggling philosophy and religion is not the easiest thing to do. So in Amitabha Buddhism, you chant the name of Amitabha. You have faith in Amitabha who will be there at the time of death to pull you into what's called the Pure Land, which is a dimension. You could call it a one of the rooms in the mansion of heaven. Like all the Christian theology, and in that heaven you are under the perfect circumstances to meditate and practice to become a full Buddha. So it's actually an intermediary state before full enlightenment. So, but through this devotional practice, I've had years and years of like power and beauty and comfort and wisdom. And it's a deeply intimate part of my personal spirituality. I don't talk about it. I'm not trying to convert anybody, it's nothing like that. But I know firsthand how it feels and how it works. Just put it like that. So I think Christians experience that with their dedication to Christ. That's my understanding, is they do have authentic spiritual experiences. And Christ is so powerful that one can have that. That's kind of bypassing the church, in a sense. The church won't want me to say that. Hold on, I gotta do one little thing here. Okay, I gotta get this squared off. Okay. White niggas going hot as fuck. That's what that stands for. Anyway, does what I say sound ridiculous to you guys, or does it make any kind of sense from your perspective? So, I mean, I'm operating from outside that matrix, from outside the belief system. But I see things in such a way as to say, like, oh, I get it, that spiritual technology works. And you can have an authentic spiritual experience from faith in Jesus. You know what I'm saying? For me, there's just unimaginable amounts of baggage with that make it hard to have that authentic experience. I have had that. I was devoutly Catholic when I was young. You can't undo that. You can't really un-Catholic yourself, you know. So it's still in me, culturally, spiritually. But I'm confused. I don't like the fact that it's so hard to understand Christ. When I say understand, I mean have a personal relationship with Christ that is, you know, spiritual technology. Sadly, I couldn't hear because my Wi-Fi is acting up. Maybe I can move closer to the phone a tiny bit. I'm not 100% in front of the phone here. But I don't say these things to offend anybody. I'm not Adam Green. I'm not trying to like destroy Christianity. I'm not saying that. You know, I'm just a traveler on this road of life, you know. I think that we can have adult conversations about this stuff. But, you know, I'll give you an example. I have a Christian friend who I love and adore and, you know, respect. And I challenged him recently, and I said, like, okay, you know, there's the part of the Bible where Jesus says, like, he says to the Pharisees, I started off by saying, like, who is the God of the Jews? And he says, Yahweh. And okay, what's his name? Well, Yahweh. And it means I am. Oh, so deep. And then I'm like, okay, so the God of the Jews is Yahweh according to the Bible, right? And then there's that part of the Bible where Jesus says, you know, you are the sons of your father Satan. So if Jesus said that, you know, they're basically, Jesus is saying that Yahweh is Satan by that logic. And he had like a meltdown. Like he was, no. And then it kind of tried to jump through flaming hoops and backflips. And I'm like, this is like, you know, a child could put that together. That's not a really hard question. What about all these passages that are identical to like Egyptian texts or Mithraism, etc.? This is where I feel that Paul, the Jew, turned Christianity into a form of warfare. Prior to, quote, converting to Christianity, there was no Christianity. He was, well, I'll say followers of Christ. His job was to kill Christians. Like, that's what he did, you know. So you would imagine a guy whose job was to kill Christians might think, fuck, you know, like I can't get them all. I have to destroy the teachings of Christ, you know, because when I'm gone, when I'm dead, like, you know, this is going to carry on. So if I can come up with a system to mislead people, that way I win even after death. I can defeat Christianity by creating Christianity, you know, which is obviously placing the Jews in a very high status. So how coincidental. The chosen ones. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's very 101 questioning religion shit right there. Mr. Shadow is here. Awesome. Hey, how's it going, bro? Kent, keep up the great work with the drawing, man. I appreciate you so much. I really do. Thank you for coming. Please share the stream if you will. Mr. Kolovrat says, yeah, I wish we have reasonable debates. Last night, someone I was speaking with insulted me and blocked me, all because I explained the majority of the central bankers are tiny hats. So we don't live where this is part of the entire, how do I put this? Making people assholes and idiots is part of how they win. You know, making people into these little automatons that just puppet, you know, ideas or comments or what have you that beliefs that are acceptable within the Overton window. Now, part of that is just like social survival. You know what I'm saying? But it's just anti-intellectual. It's immature. I don't know. I just think it's feminine. I think it's unmanly to do what that guy did. You know, to be like, you it's just I don't know. I can't abide by the idea of people choosing ignorance for because that's what it boils down to is like you have your ego or the truth. Which one are you gonna choose? You know what I mean? And unfortunately, most people choose their ego, which would indicate that if that's how it is, then we can't rely on these low IQ sheep. We have to take power by ourselves, because they either can't understand or they refuse to. They're the followers. We're the leaders. See what I'm saying? You try, and I try. I try all the time. So, for example, in my local news, there was some ICE arrests, and naturally everybody came out like, oh, it's so terrible, it's so bad, and ICE is like inherently bad, and all Central Americans are good, and we need to just destroy white nation, like just the usual fuckery. So I'm like the only one in the whole thread that writes bravo, like yay, you arrested those illegals, yay. And so some guy, sort of white liberal dude, comes out of nowhere and it's like, oh, we found the racist. Like everybody is gonna come to his defense, And I realize with people that are like really, really stupid and annoying like that, the only real thing you can do is mock them, is just destroy them and pull them apart and just leave them in the dust. It's not like I sit around doing that all day. I did do a lot of that back in the day when I was an edgelord, but I don't make time to do that anymore. But what's good about it is that the people who agree with me, who are silent, the silent majority, they're watching and reading and they follow. And so this guy writes, oh, we found the racist. And so I wrote back, I said, you spelled race realist wrong. And that's like throwing a rock at a bee's nest. That's gonna open up a whole fucking can of worms and shit. And I've been, believe me, I'm like master of kung fu when it comes to that shit. I'll just like, it's kind of like a cat toying with a mouse kind of thing. It's really unfair to them, but I guess it's got to be done. Sometimes you do have to humiliate people who are, I mean, the guy, think about it, he's promoting the death of America and the death of Western civilization through some fake garbage morality that he was trained to puppet or parrot from our enemies and their control of the media and academics. So he's a foot soldier for the death of the West, and I would love to save him. I mean, what I say to him, he won't get, but people who agree with me will be like, wow, that is fucking empowering. Holy shit. And then when they read what I write, they'll use those comments in their world. The next time they're in a situation and someone's like, oh, here comes the racist. Then they can be like, oh, you spelled race realism wrong. So it does work out in the end in some way. But I don't know. I feel like even under my normie account, I cannot sit back and let people celebrate the death of, celebrate white genocide. I can't. It's like, how can you How can you fucking do that? Now I get it. I know they're gonna get henpecked by the lesbians and the, the who's and what's and whatever's is, and they're scared of that, and that's why they're like saying, "Oh, look, I agree with you. Don't hurt me." Let's read on here. We got something from Colorado Central Bankers. Colorado says, even though I told him that isolating and punishing people will cause radicalism, even though I told, oh, wow. I literally told him that doing what he did last night will make people radical and agreed with me at first. Fascinating. But he clearly has selective memory. Natural. Oh, they all do, dude. They all do. Mr. Shadow says, Bro Kent, I found out that other people have been to a reality that I created a long, long time ago, and to other humans call it Mall World. I've been to Mall World. Yes, I've been there. Mall World used to be, in the 80s, a kind of like a sort of a white paradise, I'd say, I don't have any, I'm not a, like, I think I romanticize the 50s more than the 80s, and possibly even the 60s to some extent. But and just because, like, to me, the 80s seemed very commercialized. That's very sort of McDonald's-ish to me. I don't hate the 80s or whatever, but certainly a lot of people look at the 80s with a type of like a, not nostalgia, but like that was when we were free or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying. And certainly things like, synth wave and that kind of vibe is a big part of our culture, our internet dissident culture. And I like that. That's fun too. I've come to like it more over the years, actually. At first I was like, meh, and then it grew on me. I just saw this amazing AI video today on Instagram. You know how they can make, like, they're not really movies, they're like clips from a movie, like scenes you might see in a trailer, where, like, there's some people walking towards a city, or as a car driving in the sunset, or a monster emerging from the forest, and then you put several of those clips together with some audio description over it, and you get like a little story, and it's cool, it's neat, I like it. I'd love to make those, but anyway, the person who made this particular one, I'd say he's sort of more like kind of like an artist, filmmaker type dude, who, hold on a second. Okay, so anyway, it starts off and there's these scenes of like the suburbs, nice suburbs, but they're overgrown with like trees and grass, and there's like, deer walking in and around. What it's meant to say is like, there was some kind of event that was a cataclysm, and the suburbs were abandoned, and everybody went to the cities to find some, work or money, food, and so it shows these like very surreal. It's demoralizing. I mean, I will admit it was demoralizing, because it's sort of like, okay, this is what the suburbs would look like, if white people just simply disappeared, But it's sort of more meant to be like a sci-fi thing than like an anti-white thing. And then, so whatever, the people move to the cities, and then like there's some people that stay behind and they're scavenging for food or something. But then what happens is that now that the people are gone, all of the forest spirits emerge, and they kind of take back the forest. And so it's a story about these fantastical forest spirit creatures, which are, you might have seen images like this, like a man with a deer's head, and or like another kind of dude that has like mushrooms growing all over him or something. And the AI looks phenomenal. It looks fantastic. You just can't like lie. It looks amazing. So I don't know. I looked at that and I'm like, on the one hand, it like I said, it's demoralizing. This idea of like what if white people all disappeared? What would happen? But then I kind of enjoyed the like the sci-fi side of it. I guess I'll put it that way. Where am I going with this? I don't even know. Oh, the malls, that kind of brought that up, because they had like malls that were emptied out, and you could see like trees growing in them and stuff like that. It's kind of trippy. And there are places like that. I mean, it's not, it does exist. I do remember kind of sort of towards, oh, shoot, sorry. Rather, I should say I've seen programming where, they would talk about, oh, this town in Michigan that, something happened and all the factories closed and everybody left. And then, you see all the homes in the streets and everything just kind of fading back to nature. So it's not like it's never happened, but I'm afraid such a thing is not really far off. Only instead of being overgrown by nature, it'd be, overgrown with Muslims. Islam is really, really taking a hold in America now. I saw a report about how, like, for example, in like Dallas, Texas, there's hundreds of mosques now, and just shit like that. That's really fucking. So, dude, they're Muslims, man. I mean, they're violent. Like, they're not going to be like, oh well, okay, I'll go back to my shithole country. They're not going to do that. It's going to take a lot, and it's going to be ugly, and I don't want it to happen, but how do how else? Our governments are making it happen, right? So, I mean, how to fix it. It's just you're not allowed to say, Not allowed to say. We got free speech. But don't say the answers. Yay, America #1. Anyway, there are 40 mosques in Houston. Yeah. Honestly, the other thing that pissed me off about him blocking me is that it's cowardly, yet I kind of laugh because the old saying, if they insult and block you, you won the debate. So check me out. Next time you're in a situation kind of like this and they start in with the insults, I use this. Holy shit, I've used this so many times. You just calmly write back and say, insults are not arguments. And then like press them for an answer. Insults are not arguments. So, what's the answer to the X question, whatever the thing is? That's when they'll back out, because they're like, if they're already resorting, to insulting you or whatever, then they've already lost. You know what I'm saying? What is insults are the last refuge of a scoundrel, or something like that? I don't know. Anyway, my hope is that Ireland is going to lead Europe in battle, if you know what I'm trying to say. the Irish have always been like this. They've had hundreds of years of this kind of shit. This is very, very Irish to do that. And, I can remember how, like, you'd see shit in, like, where, like, Denmark and France and Germany and Sweden and England. But you never saw anything in Ireland. And I'm like, that's weird. I wonder what the deal is with Ireland. Why is it like not? Why are they not focusing on Ireland as a place to destroy with Islam? And then finally one day it just came on like a fucking, like, holy shit, like it's they just started blasting Ireland with Muslims. And that's been, I don't know, probably a year ago or 6 months ago. And here we are. They're burning down hotels. They literally, like, when migrant buses arrive, they're at the locations waiting for the migrants to get off the buses. I mean, fill in the blanks, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it's going down, as Antifa would say. It's going down. And then, like I just said, there's what is it? The Irish Citizen Army. You know, it is. This is what's going on. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. We'll see how it goes. And what's next? Oops, sorry. The Celts are and always will be unruly, yes. So, again, I just don't. I can see them kicking off the revolution, basically. I can see them pretty much being the leaders in this way. So that's what's going down. But I see America getting its own Francisco Franco. I just see that. That's good. Tell me, I mean, I agree with you, and I can see it myself, but I'd like to know what your sort of instinct or intuition is telling you about that. Like, what are is it more or less kind of just the natural trajectory of things, or is there like anything in sort of specifically, I feel strongly that, like, Fuentes is kind of the John the Baptist of such a person. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, what he's saying and doing is setting the road, setting the path, if you will, for this to happen. And there you are. I mean, that's like, it's crazy to see how the Jays are all like Like, he's public enemy number one, and the way that they're trying to frame everything that he says and with lies and lies and lies, of course. But then his shows are fire. Like, holy shit. Fuentes' shows are fucking awesome. Like, I was never a Fuentes guy, and now I listen to him several times a day. Because they have a lot of channels out there where they do, what do you call those? Clips. They'll watch like a 2, 3, 4 hour show, and then they'll cut clips out of like really important things that he said. So then that gets disseminated. And they're sick. They're like totally, totally sick. Really, really, like, wow. And then you got the grifters out there. There's a whole world of grifters that are living off of Fuentes, basically, where they'll like, okay, today we're going to do an analysis of the latest Nick Fuentes clips, and then they'll talk through like, he's got a point there, something, 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 extra backup data. There's one dude who'll be like, okay, he's partly right. The actual data on that topic is XYZ, and so blah 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 blah. Because Nick gets really passionate, and he'll go on these tirades, and he'll say several things like in the heat of passion, and then these grifter analysis guys, they'll actually look at the data, go back and find out, was that right? And most often they confirm that he's right. But they might say, well, yes, but kind of thing, or da 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 da, whatever. But anyway, those grifters are, making a lot. They're making hay. Fuentes is like the hottest thing right now, and I that's a little cheesy to say it like that, but if you're not fucking following Fuentes, your head is in the sand, and you don't know what's going on. This is the revolution. This is the beginning. We've got, it's the shit. I mean, it's like when you're splitting MAGA, you're going against Trump, you're forcing the GOP to pick a side, Israel or America, and the Jews are getting so intensely exposed, and young Americans are like, I can't afford to have kids. I'm becoming a minority in my own country. I'm dangerous. I have nothing to lose. You see, somebody's gonna clip me saying that. Anyway, this is what, the whole generation of young people, male and female, are saying and thinking. And that's why Fuentes is king right now. There's a lot of people in the dissident right that are, they've lost the plot. Like, they're out of date. They, they're just living in like black pill land. They're just like, complain about this and complain about that and on and on and on, and it's just like, it's not working. It's not going to work anymore. It can't work anymore. Like, you got to get on with the program. Everything that we've been working for is happening now. Oh, I don't like Fuentes because he said that one thing 5 years ago. You're an idiot. Like, you're an idiot. That means nothing. And I don't agree with everything Fuentes says. It doesn't mean, that what's happening is not happening. It is happening. And you're missing the boat if you're not paying attention. So like, get on the horn there, see what's going on. I am screwing this up so badly. I'm just gonna black that out. I messed that up. See, talking too much. Supposed to be inking. Anyway, let's read. But I see American stretches. I see us going in that trajectory. Yeah, we're certainly there. We're certainly there. You know, that is easily the trajectory. All right. When in doubt, black it out. Ink it out. Let's get rid of that. I think obviously it's a huge generational thing. Like people older than 30, 35 are, I hate to say it, but I don't want to say irrelevant, but like they're just so far gone. They're living in a dream world, you know, like we're gonna vote our way out of it. You know, who's in power, and like, yeah, voting is the answer. You know, democracy. You know, we gotta protect our democracy. You know, I don't want to say that they're imbeciles because they're not. I can't say that they're imbeciles. What I can say is that they're profoundly misled. You know, I don't. You know, this is what the system is. It's meant to corral people down a road towards powerlessness, you know, to gatekeep them onto this little farm where they have no power, but they think they have power. And meanwhile, little by little by little, they destroy the country. You know, they suck it dry, and, you know, the rest of it. So, I don't know. It's like the Q phenomenon. Like, you know, everybody, I don't know. I just feel like it's where people are being cued, you know, like, yeah, you got the power, man. Trust the plan. It's going to be okay. Trust the planikins, you know? Sorry, I'm going to back out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Hey, Donald. Judge Holden is here. Looking forward to the Alliance. Bro, the Alliance. This is part of the Alliance. You're getting a sneak peek at some Alliance pages right now. This is where we're at. What are your thoughts on Eric July? Fill me in on the Eric July news so that I'd have to like jump on my laptop and see what's going on with Eric July. Give me, if you can just refresh me a little bit, then I might know what you're talking about, and I can give you a hot take. By the way, some good news. I'm going to be on Millennial Woes Christmas special. Yes, sirree, Bob. I'm coming back, and have a huge comeback. So, because that's pretty much the space to, you know. I mean, when I started off in this dissident right crazy world, I got on his show under sort of a different name, but like that's what kickstarted this whole Donald Kent thing. Anyway, let's read here. So, okay, hold on. Yeah, okay, let's read. Sorry. Eric July, is he a politician? I'm like, that name is ringing a bell, and I'm like, Eric July, I don't know, it's not, nothing's coming up. So help me out there, and I'll see if I can answer you. Kolovrat says, yeah, I'd get thrown into the Nick Fuentes crowd because when I told them that I'm 18, well, soon 19, people 3 to 4 decades older than me were pleasantly shocked. Okay. Especially because of how good my pattern recognition is. Oh, that's really good. Judge says I don't have any news. Okay. Eric July is a Comicsgate YouTuber. Ah, okay. That's why the name is familiar. So there was a time when I was really, really into Comicsgate when I was working with John Della Rose. So John Della Rose hired me, excuse me, to do 2 issues of character. It's a 1930s character called Dynamite Thor. It was like a fun throwback kind of thing where you were bringing back some old superhero from the golden age, you know. And when we were working together on that, I started, really got introduced to Comicsgate. I got on the map. And that's when I kind of started going deep, and I was watching a lot of the different shows. Funny thing about Comicsgate is that what's his name? Graham Nolan, who's one of the top dudes. He knows me in real life, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know that I'm Donald Kent. So like one of these days, I don't know when or how, I have to find a way to like run into him or something and be like, by the way, I'm Donald Kent. He's like, oh, you're Donald Kent. That'll be funny when that day comes. Anyway, Eric July, I apologize. I just am out of the loop on that. So because I know there's a lot of drama in Comicsgate. That upsets me. I hate to see people in the movement fighting each other. That's the death of the movement. I know John Della Rose and Ethan Van Sciver had a pretty bad rift there. Van Sciver is now on like internet vacation. I guess he's kind of bowing out for a while. I assume, I don't know why he's doing that. Probably just took a lot of shit or something. I don't really know. My general, what's the word I'm saying? Like, I don't pick sides. I don't like being made to pick a side. I'd like to be everybody's friend. I mean, you know what I'm saying? To the extent that you're not a freaking flaming communist. Like I don't. You can't really be friends with people that want you to die. That's not so much. But in general, though, I'd like to keep out of that drama stuff, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. It might not be possible. Just today, just like hours ago, I was marketing the Alliance, and I did like what do you call it? When you tag a bunch of people. So I tagged John Della Rose, Vox Day, Graham Nolan, Andy Smith, whom Andy Smith has an amazing book on how to draw comics, and it's one of my personal go-to books. Like, I would say that my style doesn't look like his, at all, but it's just such a great book, and I think everyone who wants to learn comics has to have that. I would consider it required reading, so to speak. And he's just a great dude. He's just a really easygoing, smart, fun, cool dude, like someone that's easy to get along with, So when we really go full throttle Aristotle with the marketing on the Alliance, I want to get on. I want to get reviews, obviously. Well, we are going to, give the book out to as many reviewers as we can, try to get that out there. And then it's just the free market. You know what I'm saying? It's like, now, I have to clarify, obviously I did not write the story. This is not my story. I'm invested in it, obviously, quite a lot. Shit. the dry ones, but throw that in the garbage. I like co-designed like over 100 characters. I put a lot of time into this, and we got another dry one. So, there's something to say there, right? But the story and the ideas are totally and entirely the writers, Carwin Dittman, as he's going by. And he, if like any writer, like it lives or dies on their shoulders. They're the ones, that it's their concepts. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know there's going to be people that love this. There's just going to be a lot of people that love this. It might even need some explaining to some people. because it's a whole new kind of world. There's no comics out there. There's no media out there quite like this. It's really new, and I think with time people will catch on. They'll get it. Um, but people have tastes. They're like, well, I like this and I like that, and that's what it is. So we'll see how it goes. As for myself, I have a lot of my own stories yet to finish or continue. I've got Militia Man. I am taking subscriptions at my Substack to follow my comics, and I've put all of that on hold to finish this, and then I will return to doing that when I'm done. I'll be helping with the marketing, obviously, but I'm very anxious to get back to my own work. Every artist, how do I say it? If you're not making your art, you're like you're approaching like a mental breakdown. You're really unhappy inside. I'm happy to be doing this, clearly, right? Because it's fun, it's cool, it's a great job, great people. It'll put me on the map, this, that, and the other thing. But it's not my story, and I didn't write it, and I have my own things I want to say. You know what I'm saying? So we'll get there. This is pretty much the end of 2025. Again, there'll be more marketing and shows and interviews and cool stuff like that. That'll be great. But hey there, let's read some. We got some more people along here. First of all, hello to Luke Mason, my main man. You're doing your cardio, huh? What kind of cardio do you do? You're just jogging, or what are you doing there? Some jumping jacks. Are you doing? You know what you need? You got to create Air Guitar Cardio by Luke Mason. That would be a great VHS. Put your music on the back. Okay, so we're gonna air guitar this part. Ready, go. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and now left, and 2, and 3, and now, and now. Anyway, stupid ideas, dumb jokes. I'm sorry, but can't win them all. Anyway, God bless you, man. Love to have you here. Helium Valduros. What does that mean? You'll have to tell us. Lurking while I do carb. I love these streams, Brother Donald. Thank you kindly. I'm glad somebody likes me, because everybody else hates me. No, kidding. But thank you for coming. Let's see. Judge Holden says the reason I asked about Eric July is that I think his audience would probably appreciate the alliance. He's black for what that's worth. But is he in the Rippaverse? Is he the dude with the huge beard? Because he seems like, if that's the guy, he seems like a super cool dude. Like a phenomenal artist. Like crazy good artist. I think that's the guy we're talking about. I don't know how many black dudes there are in Comicsgate. Presumably more than one. But that's probably him. I'm assuming that's him. And I've always thought he was a cool dude. I like his art, obviously. And, he's just good at marketing. And he seems to stay out of the drama from what I've seen. But I don't know, his politics or any of that stuff. The Alliance is not, racist or anything. It's not far right or not that the far right is explicitly racist per se, but it's anybody can enjoy this, you know what I'm saying? There's a few wink wink nudge nudge adult situations in the story that there's no blatant sex or nudity well, there's nudity, but it's covered up nudity kind of. Anybody can enjoy this. I don't know that everybody will get it if they're not plugged into meme culture and internet culture, especially meme culture. People who are savvy, like Comicsgate readers, people who are anti-woke, I think that they'll love this because, I mean, literally, imagine memes coming to life and being like superheroes and supervillains. There's deeper storylines and concepts in the book. It's not all just goofy stuff. There's a couple points there, I guess, that you could say that are like, like this is going a bit deeper here, you know. Certain types of concepts that are in the zeitgeist, you know, Agartha and Antarctic UFOs and Hyborians and this, that, and the other thing, that it makes certain illusions that only people who are truly enlightened would get, like Luke Mason, for example. So, I got a little more erasing to do here. But thank you for the advice, Judge. I appreciate that. Mucho apreciado. Luke says, Cyber Arc training, air guitars on the weekends. All right. Cybex Arc training. Okay. Yeah, we made the Rippaverse. He made the Rippaverse. Sorry. Yes. He's Rippa. Oh, see. Okay. If you would have said Rippa, I immediately would have known who you were talking about. I'm like, but I'm like, oh, you mean Rippa? You know, like, I'm sorry. That's like how I know him. You know. But anyway, I got it right. Hey, do I get points for that? Hey, points. I'm gonna have to fix a few things in Photoshop when I get a chance. There's a couple little sloppy marks here or there, but overall not too bad. Moving on. He's Rippa. Okay, he's cool. He's not like scumbag Van Skyver. Woo! Wow, that was strong. So, you know, I started watching Van Skyver quite a while ago. I mean, I was doing John Delarose's book. Gosh, when was that? 2018, 17, 18, 19 maybe? Like 17, 18-ish. You know, that's quite a while ago, kind of. And as such, I think Skyver was like cooler back then, maybe, because I know that, like, whatever, people fight and they insult each other and shit goes down, and I wasn't there for any of that. I really wasn't around for that. Like, I don't stick around for that kind of shit. I don't like hearing people fight like that. I don't get any pleasure out of that, you know. But I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess maybe he did some shit that he shouldn't have done. That's too bad. I guess what I'm going to have to do is keep my mouth shut. You know what I mean? As we come back into Comicsgate, I don't know who likes who and who hates who. So I'm gonna, fuck, I dropped the damn eraser. You understand what I'm saying. I don't have to explain myself. You just got to watch your step, basically. But there are camps, you know what I mean? I think by default I'm in the John Delarose camp, you know. John and I are buds, you know. It's not like we talk all the time or whatever, but every time we talk, it's just like, you know, yesterday kind of thing. He has actually offered to do a book with me when I'm done with this. I want to do my own stories. I hate to say this, but the book I did with John got sabotaged by Antifa or leftists. They reached out to, what was it? I don't know the name of the. I forget the name of the. Oh shit! I can't remember the name of the fucking site, but it's the major website you use for crowdfunding for comics, and it's slipping my mind right now. But these fuckers contacted them and said, "Oh, you know, you're hosting a Nazi. You know, you're hosting a Nazi." So what they did is they made us unsearchable. Motherfuckers. They made us unsearchable, which sabotaged the campaign, and we didn't make any money on it. And it was like, and John had to like, he had to do shit tons of work, to get it printed and send it out, and a big loss, a massive loss. So like, I got an axe to grind there. I got a fucking axe to grind there. I would really want to guarantee that that is not gonna fucking happen again, but I don't know that anybody can guarantee such things. Anyway, we're done with this page. Moving on. I gotta see what time it is. 10 o'clock already? Shit. Where the fuck did the time go? Man. What is it? What do they say when you're having fun? Some shit. Yeah, he's Ripa. He's cool. He's libertarian from what I recall. Yeah, don't imagine you or Carwin would offend Eric July. Again, everything I've seen from him, he just seems like a really grounded dude, and I love people like that. I'm totally down with just chilling with cool people. That's very simple. Halim Van Duros means hail so hard. Wow. In what language? Is that the language you invented? Hail so hard, brother. Hail so hard. When are we going to write a song, Hail so hard? I should write a song about Luke Mason. That's a fucking great idea. Holy shit. Oh my God, that's a good song. But I could never, it would be hard to write because I'm not like a metal dude. I don't know how to write metal, I just can't. It's just not in me. I don't have that ability, skill, sensibility, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, moving on. Moving on. What do we got? We got a couple more comments here. Let's read. Judge says that second panel looks like Beardson. Well, this character here is he's called what is it, like Jekyll Hyde or something like that, and he's based on a certain guy with the last name Hyde that makes really funny content and has circular glasses. So I will stop there. This, everybody knows the Yes guy, right? And we all know about Keck and the Groypers, the Froggers and stuff. So he's eating his chicken tendies here. You see what I'm saying? Like you can kind of clearly, and then like white. Oh shit, I did that right. Is it white? Yeah, it's white niggers going hard as fuck. So like that's the new Nick Fuentes phrase right now. I think I would love to get a shirt like that. That's a damn good idea. Oh fuck, man, that's a great idea. Wow. Anyway, so Hotep is like Kanye. You know what I mean? It's not literally them. They're fucking. It's a comic book. They're allusions to these people, in a wink, wink, nudge, nudge way, whereby people like us will get it. It's an inside joke. And it shouldn't have to explain that. But moving on. So let's see what is next. Holy sugars. We got page 7. So this is kind of cool here. Trad. You've heard of the term trad cath, like trad Catholic. Well, there's a character called Trad Cat. So he's like a Catholic cat. Trad Cat. It's a play on words. So anyway, he gets introduced to the story. It's funny because we were just talking about Christianity earlier. Moving right along. Judge says I read that. Beardson and Sneeko. Oh no, we don't have any Sneeko in this story. Moving on. Colvrot says I was 10 and 11 in 2017-18. Wow, dude, you are way ahead of your time, bro. Way ahead of your time. Somebody ought to give you a raise. I'm telling you that right now. Okay. Shut up. Give that man a raise right now. Let's move on. Yeah, good call. I insulted EVS, not you, but they hate each other. Okay, that's good. Not good. I mean, I'm glad you didn't insult me. That's good. But yeah, I know. Whatever. And again, I don't partake in that type of culture. I'm not the guy that's out there criticizing and stirring the pot per se. I have enough pot stirring to do with the real enemies in the world rather than some dude that draws comics. You know what I mean? Moving on. Judge says, if you pick a side, go with Ripa. EVS is falling off. Well, that I can see already. Like I said, I think my side is John De La Rose and Vox Day. I've always been a Vox Day guy, like since day one. In fact, Vox Day is the OG Comicsgate guy. He's the one who started anti-woke comics. The names of a lot of them are kind of slipping my mind, but they were just kind of like cool, fun comics. You had Chuck Dixon, Space Force, and blah blah blah. And now John and Vox do a show together. So that's pretty huge. That's massive. That's really, really massive. But I'll try to see if I can watch more of Ripa's streams and kind of get to know him more. I'll tell you, man, I love the hell out of his artwork. It's so sick. It's pretty damn sick. Moving on. Colorado says, GoFundMe. It's not Kickstarter. That's what it's called, Kickstarter. Yeah. They fucked up our Kickstarter account. Anyway. Luke Mason says, Tholoril. Okay. Do you speak Swedish? What's going on here? Okay. Oh, Sam Hyde. Sam Hyde. Yes, you guys got that right. It's so funny. Looking forward to the comic. Have a good night, Don. Oh, thanks, Judge. You're probably gone by now, but thanks, bro. All right, it is 10 o'clock in my universe, so I hate to do this to you, bros, broheems, and broettes. I wonder if any women watch my show. But I shall say goodnight and wish you fairly well. And yeah, more comics coming, okay? More art coming. Keep on rocking in the free world. Have a good night, Donald. Thank you for coming along, Colorado. I appreciate you a lot. I enjoyed talking to you. Talk some more. Have a good night.